How's it going, everybody? It is Cameron here again, and I want to wish a belated Happy Thanksgiving to everyone that celebrates it. I hope you had a good one. Um, I actually wanted to make a video response. I don't know if people actually do these anymore, but I wanted to make a video response to TheLaggyGamer, who posed the question months, maybe even a year ago, of how has YouTube changed your gaming ways? Ever since I watched his video, I've thought a little bit about, that question for myself and, really evaluated how YouTube has changed the way I've gamed. And I started thinking about the fact that, when I was a kid, I had a very tight-knit group of friends I grew up with that I lived around that really indulged in gaming with me. And even though I would talk at school to people occasionally, or meet other people here and there that also did game, it was primarily with my tight-knit group of friends that I played games, learned about new games, got recommendations about stuff. I had friends that I could always beat games with. I could introduce games to. The multiplayer games we play all the time. Gaming was really sort of a tight-knit thing for me. And it was really fun because you always knew anytime you were really into something, there was a good chance someone else you'd see almost every day would be into it too. So you had people to enjoy stuff with, talk about stuff with, discuss with, and it was a really cool thing. But then probably middle, late high school, most of my friends either, and a lot of this is true for me too, but certainly for my friends as well, a lot of people either didn't game as much or at all anymore, or if they did, it started to shift towards, casually playing things like Call of Duty, Halo, online stuff, which certainly still gaming, and there's fun to be had there. There's lots of games, EverQuest, Warcraft 3, Dota, that I've sank a lot of time into that I really enjoyed. So I'm not saying that online gaming isn't something to be savored, but once people either stopped gaming altogether or got more into online gaming, it began to feel like I had no one to really enjoy sort of the longer, more narrative-driven, more complex games that I'd always loved with. Most of my friends either didn't care anymore or were playing different things that, were more for competition and casual enjoyment. So it became hard to sort of remain as passionate and as involved with the world of console gaming as I had, because I had no one to really indulge in it with. Well, then a couple years later, or a couple years ago at this point, when I started to get back into console gaming, after taking a break and doing a lot of online gaming myself primarily, it was sort of weird because all of a sudden I was sort of wanting to get back into certain things, but I had no one to really recommend anything to me. I had no one that I could really sit down and play anything with because I knew they wouldn't care about it. I didn't want to bore people to death with, introducing them to RPGs that I knew they could give two craps about. So that's when I myself, I think, began to really utilize YouTube as a tool for that purpose. And 4 to 5 years ago in general was probably about when I even started using YouTube for anything. Even began to use YouTube regularly to search for things. But as far as gaming goes, it was really incredibly cool that on YouTube, where just a couple years prior, if I wanted to type to people or search up something from, say, an older Final Fantasy game, you kind of have to scour the internet to find a lot of stuff about that. It wasn't as simple as going to YouTube and typing in, Final Fantasy VII theme song or opening song or whatever, and having 40 videos appear right away with not only the content for you, but lots of people talking about the content in the comments section. And it's been incredibly cool to me. This is where I kind of want to get into the two major ways that YouTube has affected my gaming. The first way is just kind of helping to reignite my passion for it, because gaming is something that I've really always enjoyed, but there was a long stretch there where I can't remember if I really beat a single console game, even really tried to. I'd pick up stuff occasionally because it looked pretty cool, but I didn't buy games very much, if ever. And even when I did, I'd play them for a couple weeks and almost never see them through because it was something I kind of did to kill time more than to really enjoy. And while that's fine, gaming doesn't always have to be something you really set aside a lot of time for and work towards. There is a level of satisfaction that comes with seeing a story from beginning to end and, completing games and really getting into games. But with YouTube, all of a sudden you had the chance to engage other people and material again that I hadn't really felt since I was a kid. It was incredibly cool to go online and be able to type in, Final Fantasy, Zelda, whatever it was, and all of a sudden you see all these other people that get just as much enjoyment and have just as much fun with those things as you do. Making cover songs, looking on YouTube for actual versions of the real music from games, looking up gameplay videos of people playing the games, looking up cinematics. It really showed you that you weren't the only one that also thought about these things and really enjoyed these things too. And while I don't think something has to be popular for you to enjoy it by any means, there is something kind of cool about, thinking you're the only one that ever gave two craps about some random town's theme song in an RPG, and then all of a sudden you go on YouTube and realize, holy crap, a lot of other people think that's cool too. So as I was sort of getting this itch to play console games again, it made me even want to more when I started using YouTube to look up all these elements of games I'd already played or other games I hadn't, and see that other people cared as well. So all of a sudden I can kind of indulge and get on there and have back and forth discussions with people about games and topics that I hadn't been able to in years because I really didn't know anyone else who cared. So that's definitely one way it's helped reignite my desire to do it and allow me to kind of indulge a hobby of mine with other people. The second way is just introducing me to content that either I was aware of but didn't think much of, or content that I wasn't aware of at all. There's a handful of games now that I was either, had heard the title but literally knew nothing else about the game, that I've either already bought because of how much people raved about them and because of how much I think I would like them, or games that I plan to buy. I'm playing Xenoblade Chronicles right now. I played Xenogears as a kid, so I've loved that style of game and loved that development team. So I was aware when Xenoblade came out what it was, and I'd heard of it, but I really didn't have any overwhelming desire to get the game until I started seeing reviews from other people that just hailed the game as a masterpiece. And now that I'm 8 to 10 hours in, it's incredible so far. And I really have YouTube to thank for that, because I saw initial reviews and discussions about it online, and then listened to some of the music. And I didn't want to spoil stuff for myself, but basically the internet and YouTube gave me avenues to kind of think more about it, and that led me to finding something that I really enjoyed so far. There's been tons of Earthbound was a game I was always aware of, and it cost a pretty penny, but I thought about getting it, thought about playing it, maybe being something I'd enjoy, but yet again, it was YouTube and people really talking so passionately and emotionally about how rewarding the experience of playing that game was that ultimately led me to deciding to buy it. So YouTube's not only helped me get into things that I was already into when I was younger again, but it's helped me get into new things that I probably never would have even either been aware of or realized were as good as they were, except for people on YouTube being cool enough to throw their 2 cents in about it. So yeah, all in all, YouTube's been an awesome tool. I mean, hardly a day goes by where I don't use it to just bring up something game related in the background to play while I'm doing something else, or there's a handful of channels out there, some that I've mentioned already that I watch all the time because I just find them cool to sort of sit back and take in. But all in all, I really think, I really credit YouTube for being a big part of the reason that I got back into gaming and why I'm making my own videos now. So I thought that was a cool question. I'd love to hear what other people think also. I'll have to look up to see if there's more responses to his initial question, but anything you want to get into, not just gaming. I really think YouTube has it all for you now. There's a lot to immerse yourself in if you want to take the time to check it out. So thank you, YouTube people, for helping me find the joy again in something that I've always loved doing. So I'm going to do some more gaming spotlight videos soon on a bunch of games I've been meaning to get videos up about. And then from there, I'll just kind of see what I want to do and what videos I want to make. But thank you very much for the initial question. And thank for anyone who's watching this. Take care, guys.